Hello again and welcome to Brookside's Daily Devotions. Glad you could join me. My name's Stanley, and today I want to think about something that maybe you're involved in as well in life, and that's the word restoration. Something like this here. My little car here with me today, and some people do restore things, restore cars, they restore maybe furniture, they restore houses, maybe clothes, different things. People try to bring back things to what they originally were. And life is a little bit like that as well. Sometimes people need to be restored, even followers of Jesus. And one of those stories in the Bible, a tremendous story of Peter, one of the inner three amongst the disciples. In fact, probably the leader amongst the disciples. Yet failure was to come. He was to deny the Christ at the time when Jesus needed him most. I'm going to pick up the story this morning, today here in Matthew 26 and in verse 69. So if you have a Bible, again, please turn to it. Matthew 26 and verse 69, it says, "Now Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard. What had happened was Jesus had been arrested. He was about to be tried and then sent to the cross. And Peter was in this courtyard, and it says, and a servant girl came up to him and said, 'You also were with Jesus the Galilean.' But he denied it before them all, saying, 'I do not know what you mean.' And when he went out to the entrance, another servant girl came to him, and she said to the bystanders, 'This man was with Jesus of Nazareth.' And again he denied it with an oath, 'I do not know the man.' And after a little while, bystanders come up and said to Peter, 'Certainly you too are one of them, for your accent betrays you.' It's a bit like my own accent. Sometimes it betrays me. Then he began to invoke a curse on himself and to swear, 'I do not know the man.' And immediately the rooster crowed. And Peter remembered the saying of Jesus, 'Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times.' And he went out and wept bitterly." What about you today? Once maybe you walked with the Lord in your own life. Maybe now you, like Peter, walk at a distance. Is there something in your life that's become between you and Jesus? Maybe you made a profession of faith when you were younger in life. Maybe other things have come in between, things to distract you, things to take you away from the Lord, and things like prayer, Bible study, fellowship with other believers. Maybe those things have just gone by the wayside. But you can know restoration. You can cry out like the psalmist. David here, the psalmist, cries out, "Restore to me the joy of my salvation," in Psalm 51. If you're serious about it, God is serious too, serious to help restore you, to bring you back, but you need to want to do that. Or maybe today you're a Christian and you know people who are walking away from the Lord, or who haven't walked with God once the way they once did. And some of the things that we can certainly do is to pray for people and to be concerned for people. And where opportunity arises, to encourage them or to challenge them to think once again. Maybe just want to encourage you to do that, even as you're listening to this, to pray for people you know who once walked with the Lord, but now are strangers, or people who come through church, come through maybe organizations and heard about the things of Christ. They don't need restored. What they need is they need to come to know Christ as their Saviour. Would you pray for those people even today? Let's take up the story again with Peter. For the story didn't finish there. For if the story had finished with Peter going out and weeping, and how sad an ending that would be. And we pick up the story in John 21. And in verse 4, what had happened was the disciples, after the resurrection, 7 of them had decided to go fishing. Peter, of course, being the main man. And they go out, they fish, they catch nothing. And then in verse 4 it says, just as day was breaking, Jesus stood on the shore, yet the disciples did not know that it was Jesus. And Jesus said to them, "Children, do you have any fish?" And they answered him, "No." He said to them, "Cast the net on the right side of the boat and you will find some." So they cast it, and now they were not able to haul it in because of the quantity of the fish. A reminder back to Luke chapter 5 and in a similar story. And it's Jesus here reminding Peter and the others of that story once again. That disciple whom Jesus loved therefore said to Peter, "It is the Lord." And when Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his outer garment, for he had stripped off for work, and threw himself into the sea. And the other disciples came in the boat, dragging the net full of fish, for they were not far from the land, but about 100 yards off. And here we find Jesus feeding them, actually, on the shore. And restoration then comes in verse 15, for it says, "And when they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, 'Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?' And he said to him, 'Yes, Lord, you know that I love you.' He said to him, 'Feed my lambs.' He said to him a second time, 'Simon, son of John, do you love me?' And he said to him, 'Yes, Lord, you know that I love you.' He said to him, 'Tend my sheep.' He said to him a third time, 'Simon, son of John, do you love me?' And Peter was grieved because he said it to him a third time, 'Do you love me?' And he said to him, 'Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you.' And Jesus said to him, 'Feed my sheep.'" Time doesn't permit us to go into the word for love here in the Greek, but it's a sacrificial love. It's a love that will give up all to follow Jesus. It's a love God calls us to love him with that depth, that seriousness, that desire to follow on. And Jesus has a love for us. But how much do I love Jesus today? How much does Jesus mean to me in my life today? Am I prepared to follow him, to even walk with him where it will be costly? In verse 18 it says, "Truly, truly, I say to you," talking to Peter, "when you were young, you used to dress yourself and walk wherever you wanted. But when you're old, you will stretch out your hands, and another will dress you and carry you where you do not want to go." This he said to show by what kind of death he was to glorify God. Peter was to die on a cross, and Jesus was preparing him even for that, and wanted to know how much Peter really loved him. Restoration came, for the final words here says, "And after saying this, he said to him, 'Follow me.'" Today, do you need restoration with Jesus? Do you need to be restored, to know the joy of your salvation? I really encourage you to come back to that again, to come back to Christ, seriously, repentant before him, crying out to him, and he will answer you. And for those of us who know the Lord, keep walking with him, but encourage others to walk along, others who may need to be restored, others who may need to hear the good news about Jesus, and some that may need to come, even for the first. May God use you today in your life as you encourage others along that path. Thank you very much for listening.